So I want to talk about the newest app taking crypto Twitter by storm called Fantasy Top. What exactly is Fantasy Top? Well, it's kind of like if you took fantasy sports and you took crypto Twitter and you merged them together. That's basically what Fantasy Top is. So very quickly, you can create a deck of like 5 cards. These 5 cards represent your actual crypto Twitter influencers that you see posting every day. So you're gonna find your D's, your Loopify, Thread Guy, other influence. Some of my favorite influencers like Min, X Dynasty, Jen. All of those you're gonna find them as a card in Fantasy Top that you can either pay individually, you can buy the card individually, or you can buy packs and hope to get your the influencer that you want. And then you can create your deck of 5 cards, participate in tournaments, and possibly win Blast Gold or other points that will eventually obviously get you real money or crypto money, right? So what I wanted to say about that is I actually I didn't even play Fantasy Top, right? I just started buying cards. And I feel that, especially as someone who plays fantasy hockey, I've been playing for the past 5 years, and I'm like very invested in my fantasy hockey whenever we do it with all my friends, and it's just not the same as fantasy sports. But if you think about it, like you take fantasy sports and you take crypto Twitter. So I love fantasy hockey. I love the degen aspect of crypto. Like I love putting my money and buying NFTs and seeing it go up and all that. So if you think that like 2 things that I really like, if you merge them together, you would think that I would love it, but it's really not the case. And I think the reason why is because there's like 2 big missing components that I see from Fantasy Top that makes me not want to really play it, or at least like not be emotionally invested into Fantasy Top like I am in fantasy hockey. So the first reason why is because there's missing the group chat component of fantasy hockey. One of the main reasons why I think it's really fun is not necessarily like I think it's fun to like draft your players and see them win week over week, or even lose week over week against like your friends. But it's really on the side chats that everything happens, like all the shit talking that you can do with your friends, because this week, Bobby won his week because one of his players had one more shot or one more save than you, right? And he got super lucky because it was a Sunday night at the very last game. He randomly picked a player on waivers and that guy blocked a shot. And that's the reason why he won. And everyone is shitting on Bobby because, he won his week, for example, because he was really lucky. Like, those are the types of moments that make fantasy hockey really fun. It's really the interactions that you can get with your friends and the people that you actually play with. And with Fantasy Top, it's very different because you're playing against a bunch of randos. Like, for sure, you can have some of your friends also playing at the same time. But if you don't have like that small group chat that you usually have for fantasy, and I'm assuming that everyone else playing fantasy also has their own group chat of like all of your fantasy teams together. Like, I feel that it's just not as fun because you remove that aspect, right? And like me winning against user 12345 or like degen 650 69, for example, like that to me is not as fun because I don't really know that person, right? So like even if I'm winning or losing, like I can't really speak about it. I just like log in, see that, I'm rank 41 today instead of like 59, and yay me. But I don't have anyone to talk to about it really, except like I can tweet it out on Twitter and hopefully I can get it engagement maybe. So I think that's one reason why, and that's one big component to me that makes it different from fantasy sports in general. The second thing I think is that crypto Twitter is fun to be on. Like I love interacting with people, I love tweeting about stuff, I love seeing what's happening, but it's not a sport. Like it's not something that I would love to follow based on stats. I don't want to see that Jen tweeted 20 times today or got like 10K views on one of her tweets. Like to me, that's not interesting. Whereas like hockey, even though I don't watch every game, like obviously I love watching hockey and I love seeing what's happening. So to me, it's interesting that like this random third line player blocked a shot today and gained me one more point for my fantasy team, or this second random goalie for this team that I picked up on waivers actually made a save today or won a game, and that got me more points for my fantasy team this week. Like that to me is a lot more interesting. And I think it's obviously just because like you have so much more time to develop this emotional connection with this sport, that it's just different when you engage with these players that you've kind of known for a long time. Whereas like Twitter, there's that missing component of like, I don't really care about these influencers. Like obviously some I consider friends or I would consider acquaintances, like I can talk to them, but it's not really a sport where you care really what's happening about like, thread guy posting a tweet or retweeting a tweet or whatever. Like that to me is not the interesting part of crypto Twitter. Whereas like hockey, well, yeah, it is. That's what's interesting, is like who scored today, who made the assist, who plays on the power play, like who scored on the power play and all that stuff. Like those are the things that usually you would follow at the same time as watching a game. Whereas like crypto Twitter, like you don't really care, or you shouldn't really care about other people's stats, really. Like what's interesting about crypto Twitter is like you following what's going on in the news, or you creating your own content on Twitter and posting about stuff, right? And I think that's, to me, the two big differences that make Fantasy Top not as enjoyable. And honestly, it could be just Cope as well. Like it's possible that I was late on the Fantasy Top train. I did not get my rare gen card, or I did not get, like, I don't have enough ETH to buy a Minix Dynasty common card, and that's why I'm crying right now. It's very possible that that's one of the reasons why, but I really think that the two components that I said, one is that small group of friends group chat, and the second one is that you don't have the same emotional investment in the sport as, well, I mean, obviously crypto Twitter is not a sport, but so you don't have the same emotional investment as you have in like a fantasy sports versus what's happening on crypto Twitter. Like to me, that's really what makes a difference, and why I don't think I like Fantasy Top as much. So that's it for today. Peace.